guess my parents got off the phone with me during that time when I was isolating myself the most, and I had said some really scary things to them.
All you want to do is feel loved, especially by your mother. And when you don't get that, there's a lot of other pieces that go missing. And that's when the problems started to arise in terms of depression and anxiety. Growing up wasn't too bad, actually, in terms of my family situation. My dad was a real estate broker, so he made some good money. My mother was a stay-at-home mom, and things were pretty good, I think, until I was 7 or 8 when they got divorced. I have 2 younger brothers. Max was 1 at the time, and Zachary was 4 years old. So I was pretty much the lead, since they didn't really know what was going on for the most part.
I think everything started in high school from what I can remember, but it all sort of came to a boiling point once I was already in school, freshman year.
My mom has borderline personality disorder, and for those who don't know what that is, it's a disorder that basically you live in a different reality than everybody else. You think that whatever you did isn't your fault, or you just don't take accountability for your actions, and you see your responsibilities in a different light than everyone else does. Well, when you're 7 years old and you're told every night that there will be like a time where she's going to be crying, and you have to take care of her, you know, be the emotional rock for your mom when you're 7, that's a hard position to be put in. When she's crying every night for 2 to 3 hours, and you're just saying, you know, Mom, everything's going to be okay, I love you, and she, because of her mental illness, she says, no, you don't love me, I feel unloved, and whatever. That's something you can't really deal with when you're 7.
Started with me starting to isolate myself a lot, because just day-to-day things would send me into like a complete spiral of just like anxiety attacks, and just basically got to the point where I would just isolate myself in order to just not have to deal with those emotions. So, I mean, it got to the point where it was, I think, 6 days I didn't leave my room, and I didn't eat, and I didn't talk to anyone, I didn't go to any classes, I didn't answer my phone.
As I got older and wanted more control of my life, my relationship with my mother got worse, and I became more and more like my dad in terms of, you know, I love sports. I started playing racquetball, and that really ticked her off, because whatever reminded her of him hurt her in some way. And so as I got to sophomore and junior year, she was losing it with me. It didn't matter what I was doing. Just being myself was the wrong thing to do. And that's painful for somebody who's just trying to find their way in the world. She wrote me a letter one morning. I was dating my first girlfriend in high school. I was a freshman, and I didn't tell her about it. And she was very upset and hurt by that. So the next morning I woke up and there was a letter on my breakfast plate that basically said she was disowning me as a son because I didn't tell her I had a girlfriend. And I didn't understand why. I thought that was a little bit of a reach. So I just laughed at her and, you know, said I'm not signing this stupid letter. And that was one of the things. Most of it was just telling me that I wasn't going to be a successful human being no matter what I did, whether it be, you know, writing, an athlete, wherever I wanted to go to college probably wasn't an option because I wasn't smart enough, or just wasn't worthy enough. So when you're being fed that, when all you're saying is, hey, you know, Mom, I want to be a newspaper writer, and she tells you, oh, there's no way you'll ever be successful at that, that kind of deters your dreams.
When I talked to my parents, I would just say that I was fine because I didn't want them to worry. And I think no one really knew. Like, no one knew what I was going through, and I didn't really feel comfortable enough to talk to anybody. And that just, yeah, I just totally shut down and didn't really have any support system. The only way that I was able to finally get help was, I guess my parents got off the phone with me during that time when I was isolating myself the most, and I had said some really scary things to them. Kind of like, they basically, their concern was like suicidal thoughts. So they were up, my dad got on a plane. I think he was here like 4 hours after I called him, and he didn't even bring a suitcase or anything. He just had his wallet with him. I had no idea he was coming. He called me and said, come outside of Madonna. I'm outside of your dorms. So I walked out and I was really angry and like upset and mad. I felt like totally like they didn't trust me and they went behind my back and just showed up here, but it ended up being the best thing that could have happened because I didn't really see, as an outside viewer on what was going on, it was really scary, but in the time I was just so depressed that I just didn't really realize that that's what I needed at the time.
I had nothing left in the tank and I didn't understand why. So this doesn't make sense. I'm only, 17 years old. This is just weird. So I went into my therapist and said, hey, what's the deal here? And they said, oh, you have major depression. I said, well, how do we fix this? And it's not that easy, actually. You have to put a lot of work and time into it, and you have to get on medication. And I didn't really want to do that at first. I was a junior. I just wanted to get through the year. And they said, you don't really have a choice. So I kind of pushed it off until my senior year. And that's when I moved out of my mom's house that summer in August, August 12th, 2010. I said enough's enough and I moved out, and then the depression really hit. Not because I missed my mom or anything, but because I think it's a natural thing. It's a loss of some sort, and that really triggered it. And I started falling apart. I was drinking a lot, taking some pills I probably shouldn't have been taking, and wasn't myself, to say the least.
Self-medicating was a big thing for me, which just kind of aggravated depression. If you go out and drink all the time, you're not going to feel any better, but that was kind of my way of trying to deal with things. And also what intensified it was me isolating myself, because then I would just have like such a heavy weight on my shoulders worrying about things that I should be doing, and I have all these assignments I've missed, I'm not going to class, and that just sort of would build up, and then I would just get stuck in like this really dark place and not take the steps I needed to pull me out or take care of myself at all. Art was always a huge outlet for me, so that's always been something consistent that I can rely on to it just keeps me sort of happy and in tune with my emotions, or just to let things out that need to be let out. So I feel lucky that I have that. I've always been really into art, and I've always been the kid who gets like in trouble in class for doodling and like not listening. But my parents saw that, so they've always sort of supported it and had me doing like art camps and like being really supportive of that. So they basically gave me the foundation, and now I'm just kind of like took it and ran with it because I love it so much. I look at art from high school and I'm like, my poor parents probably were like, oh, that's really nice, because I look at it and it's like really dark, like kind of depressing stuff, and I'll look at something that I made and I can remember like how I was feeling at the time and sort of why it turned out that way. Because yeah, if I am in a bad mood, or if I was feeling depressed at the time, my art definitely is a reflection of that, I think.
I think it was brought upon me just because of all the negativity that was around me. Alex, you can't do this. Alex, you can't do that. I'm not one of those people who listens to that stuff, but when you hear it enough times, it kind of starts to sink in. And so once I was depressed, I started writing a lot, and I just figured, all right, well, what are my goals? All right, let's start small, just get to school today, do your homework, get in a small workout. And then it became bigger, get a job, start proving that you're worth something. It'll make yourself feel better. And so my biggest goal was just proving to myself that I was worth more than what my parents thought I was worth, especially my mom, because every kid looks for their mother's approval in some way. And I knew I was never going to get it no matter what, so I had to come to that realization on my own by having a lot of success. Writing was a big part of it for me. So I ended up, taking a few notes every day, and slowly built up a journal. And I was able to look back on the notes and say, all right, well, look how much I progressed. Look at how my mood has gotten a lot better since I've been on medication and been in therapy. So that was a lot of self-reflection. And that led to self-motivation and saying, all right, well, obviously this process is working, so why don't I just keep going? Who's going to stop me? No, I mean, my original idea was just to publish my journal entries, and if that could have an impact on some kids, cool. But they wanted to go in a different direction. They said they wanted part of it to be journal entries and the other part to be self-help. And I said, well, I'm not really qualified to give advice on depression and anxiety. I lived it, but I don't have a degree in anything. And I said, we don't want that. We want this because it's authentic, it's real, and you're not telling people what to do, you're just saying what worked for you.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is finding what makes you happy and really learning how to have balance so that it's all not so much focus on I have to do well in school. For me, I think it's important for everybody to have a total balance and take a break from your responsibilities and do things that make you happy, that are positive for you.
Because abuse that leaves a mark, whether it be an actual physical mark or mental scarring. And a lot of people aren't equipped to deal with that stuff. So my main goal was just to give people a better way, or more diverse ways to help them get through any type of abuse. My life's going very well right now, and it's only gotten better since I left. So what would be the point of me, initiating a dialogue there? A lot of people say, oh, well, it's your mom. You gotta love your mom. I think that's absolute crap. You don't have to. If the person didn't treat you well, that's like the girl going back to the guy who hit her. Oh, well, it's your boyfriend. He loves you. Well, not if he hits me. I think bringing her back into my life would just slow down the momentum that I've built up over the last few years. It would be detrimental to my health and my well-being, and I see no point.
This year's art, I've just had the best year, and I've been just really able to be in tune with being my creative side, and I love the stuff that I'm making now more than the darker art from my past. So for me, it's kind of realizing how far that I've come since then, and now I have all these tools that if I ever feel that way, I know how to take care of myself, or things that I can do, and I know things that I need in my life to keep me from feeling that way again. So I like looking at it because it shows growth to me.
Of course you wish it was different, or I would wish it was different, but we're all dealt a certain hand, some better than others, but I wouldn't change anything. I think it's made me who I am. The people who know me very well, they like who I am because of what I've gone through. I would not be the same person standing here if I had gone through all this stuff.